In the tumultuous world of British politics, there are moments that transcend the typical noise, moments that challenge not just the individuals involved but the very principles on which the system rests. The recent uproar surrounding Tommy Robinson and the alleged intervention of King Charles II in the political saga of Labour leader Keir Starmer is precisely one of those moments. The implications are profound, shaking the already fragile foundation of UK politics, testing the limits of leadership, and raising critical questions about the role of the monarchy. This is not just a controversy. It is a defining moment, and the way Starmer handles it will either solidify or destroy his credibility. The question now is, will he rise to the occasion, or will he allow the forces of populism and extremism to define the future of his party? Let's be clear. The issue at hand is not about appeasing political opponents, nor is it about maintaining political correctness. This controversy is about the very essence of what kind of leadership the UK needs at a time of unprecedented division. Starmer's measured, cautious approach has been painted by his supporters as an embodiment of principled leadership, a refusal to indulge in inflammatory rhetoric. But let's not be fooled into believing that his calculated silence will lead to long-term success. The reality is much darker. Starmer's refusal to condemn Tommy Robinson's extremist rhetoric with a necessary force sends a signal to the public that Labour is either too weak or too politically expedient to take on the real challenges facing the country. It is a refusal to acknowledge the existential threat posed by the far-right surge, and that cannot go unchecked. The crux of the matter lies in the unwillingness to confront the growing influence of figures like Robinson, whose views on immigration, Islam, and nationalism are not just incendiary, they are dangerous. In a nation grappling with issues of social cohesion, the rise of such divisive figures is not a mere sideshow, it is a crisis in the making. Starmer's leadership, by not firmly rebuking Robinson, risks becoming synonymous with the same impotence that defined Labour's leadership under Corbyn. Weakness in the face of populist extremism is not leadership, it is acquiescence. The far-right, emboldened by every minute of inaction, is not some fringe element anymore. It is an active, pervasive force threatening to hijack the national conversation on immigration, identity, and cohesion. One could argue, and indeed some do, that Starmer's hands are tied by the political realities of appeasing various factions within the Labour Party. But let's be blunt, a leader's responsibility is not to appease, but to lead. Leadership is not about seeking comfort in the middle ground, it is about taking a stand on principle, regardless of the consequences. If Starmer truly believes in the values of inclusivity, fairness, and justice that he claims to champion, he cannot afford to sit on the fence while Tommy Robinson's influence continues to grow. Every moment of hesitation is a moment where the far-right agenda gains ground. Let us not overlook the most troubling element of this saga, the potential involvement of King Charles II. The monarchy, in principle, is supposed to be neutral. In reality, the spectre of royal intervention in such a politically charged moment should send alarm bells ringing throughout the nation. The very notion that a sitting monarch might intervene in the political dynamics of the UK represents a dangerous erosion of the constitutional boundaries that have held this country together for centuries. The monarchy's role is to serve as a unifying symbol, not to wade into the complexities of party politics. If this summoning of Starmer does indeed come to fruition, it risks undermining the monarchy's long-standing claim to political neutrality and opening a Pandora's box that could have grave consequences for the future of British democracy. It is difficult to ignore the hypocrisy at play. If the monarchy is to maintain any semblance of credibility, it must distance itself from such interventions. The monarchy cannot pick and choose when to involve itself in politics based on personal sympathies or national crises. Its involvement must remain strictly symbolic. To do otherwise would invite questions about the future role of the Crown in a democracy, and whether such an intervention undermines the very democratic principles it is supposed to embody. But the blame does not rest solely with the monarchy. The bigger failure here lies with Starmer himself. The Labour leader, in attempting to maintain the balance between appeasing both left-wing progressives and centrist voters, has failed to take the decisive action required in the face of rising extremism. His response to the Robinson controversy was inadequate, and his lack of urgency in calling out the far-right narrative sends a dangerous message to the public. This indecision on his part creates a vacuum that is swiftly being filled by populist forces seeking to capitalize on the fear and frustration felt by ordinary people. Now, As social media explodes with reactions to this saga, the pressure on Starmer only intensifies. Critics are quick to point out the double standards that plague the political elite. While politicians from all sides of the spectrum denounce the far-right, few have the courage to take the necessary steps to isolate and neutralize the threats they pose. Starmer must rise above the fray. He must reject the appeasement politics that have dominated Labour in recent years and take a firm stand against the forces of division. This is his moment to define his leadership, not as a mere reactionary figure, but as a force for unity and resolve. History will judge Starmer not by his ability to play it safe, but by his willingness to confront the forces that seek to destroy the fabric of British society. If he chooses the path of caution, he risks becoming another footnote in a history that demands more than just a politician who plays for time. If he chooses to lead, he will not only safeguard his party's future but may yet set the country on a course toward healing the deep divisions that threaten to tear it apart.